Good afternoon and welcome to the second in our series of Flex Generation webinars. I'm Jane Sartin and I run the Flexible Space Association. And today we're hearing from Dominic, who is co-founder of Cleanology, one of the Flexer members, and he's going to be talking to us about personal leadership. So I'm going to leave you with Dominic, who has some slides to run through. If anyone has a question, if you can put that into the chat box, and we will pick those all up at the end. But now I shall get your presentation up, Dominic. And
thank you, Jane. Thank you very much, Jane, and great to see everybody today. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to go through a few slides. Going to be fairly brief because we've got quite a lot of content. So just going to do a bit of an overview of Cleanology, who we are and what we do. So just about me personally, I grew up in London, mother's from Sweden, father from Sri Lanka. It's a very international family. Left university, didn't really know what I wanted to do apart from start my own business. I stood as a candidate in the parliamentary elections in 2005. Didn't win, obviously. Then in 2006 and 2007, I ran Europe's first motorised rickshaw business in Brighton. I appeared briefly on Dragon's Den in 2007. Unfortunately, didn't get the investment and got rejected from the Den. Having left that business, I had a lot of debt, six-figure sum of debt, and did wonder if I was ever going to be able to pay it back. And then I moved on to my current business, which is Cleanology, from 2008 onwards. So it has been a bit of a journey. And then we started that with, my mother started it originally 25 years ago. I've been running it for the last 22 years. And we started with one employee, one client, as you do, under the staircase. And then have grown it to about 1,300 people now, national business, 24 million turnover. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail about the DNA in a minute, so I won't spend too long on that now. But we are multi-award winning, and the journey that we've had has been, an experience. So I'm going to go through some of my highs and lows and learnings. So these are some of our clients, some well-known household names and brands here. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those in a minute. So a couple of examples of people we work with: Europe's largest car showroom in Manchester, Mercedes-Benz. And one of my favorites, the Royal Household. We started with them 5 years ago. They found us, Windsor Castle found us on Google, as you do, and they recommended us to Buckingham Palace. We tendered for the contract, won it, and then had the contract renewed last year for another 5 years. So something that we're very proud of here. So what is the DNA of Cleanology? It's powered by three areas. So you've got people, planet, and future. So obviously we're a very people-centric business, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Planet is something that we are very passionate about, committed to. I keep being reminded about my green blue Peter badge, for those of you even old enough to remember what a green blue Peter badge is. It's something that we've always done since day one and continue to innovate today. And then finally, technology and innovation is also a huge part of what we do, and that those three elements make up the three colors in our heart logo. So, right for the planet. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but just to pick out one or two. We're very big on sustainability, and we try and not just deliver very sustainable service using eco-friendly products, but also trying to encourage our supply chain and people, partners we work with, to do the same. We're very selective about who we work with. We're going for our B Corp as well, which I know is a big thing at the moment, EcoVadis certified. And also from a social point of view, which I'll come on to in a second, we also are very committed to that. So things like paying the real living wage. Now we have all of our staff paying the real living wage or being paid the real living wage, whereas 5 years ago we had about 17% of our workforce on it. So it's something that we've worked really hard to increase. On the social side, we partner with a charity called the Hygiene Bank, which is a really brilliant charity, grassroots, small charity, only started 5 years ago, just before COVID. And we've helped them raise a lot of money, but also a lot of awareness. And a lot of other companies have now got behind them and supported them. And as a business, we're very keen to make sure that we're working with the community and trying to give back a bit as well, and supporting a charity that looks after people who suffer from hygiene poverty, who can't afford basic essentials such as deodorant and toothpaste and so on, is very important to us and aligns well with our brand. And then right for our people, so it's just some high-level stats really. I think the retention rate in the middle there, 94%, is really important. The national average is 84%. In our industry, it's 79%. So that's something that we're really proud of. We've got a really high LGBTQIA plus workforce. And also, we do ask people about their neurodiversity, and people feel very open to be able to talk about that here. 11% of our workforce identifies neurodiverse, and we work with them to support them as well, so that we can get the best out of them and they can feel happy and want to work for us as a business. We are also very female workforce, 64%, and 40% of our management team are female. So really diverse business. Our staff come from 34 different countries. So yeah, very, very diverse business. And then right for your future, just a bit about the innovation. So we built our own Connect. It's called Platform Cleanology Connect, where we share data with our clients. We have a portal, and all of the reporting and so on is there, 24-hour access to everything, and it just makes everything paperless and seamless. So this is a big investment that we made as a business in our sector. And then a bit of personal timeline really, and also just about the journey of the business. So started in 1999 by my mother. That was our very first office, the basement there in Pimlico underneath the staircase. Is kind of where it all started. I used to, my bedroom was on the top floor, and I used to, our old address was 5th floor, Cambridge House, Cambridge Street, and my friends thought it was all hilarious because no one knew it was my bedroom. They thought it sounded like a big skyscraper somewhere in the city, but everyone's got to start somewhere, and that's where I started. So one of my tips for people is to act bigger than you are. And often people will buy into that one. Someone once told me, if you want to be a £10 million business, you've got to act like a £10 million business, and that's when we were 5 million. And it does change the way you do things and changes your mindset. So 2000, we won our first client. Very exciting, big international brand, Pizza Hut. Again, nobody knew it was a takeaway joint on, I think I was just near Victoria. In London, and we really traded off that brand a lot and said to people, we work with Pizza Hut, big brands like that, and then we use that to leverage our next clients. So definitely use a top brand to generate new clients is my takeaway on that one. And then I took over the business from my mother, and then she decided when we got to about 5 employees, she'd had enough, and decided to not be involved anymore. So I carried on, and people do love her story. So we do promote ourselves as a family business, although my mother's no longer involved. My wife is involved a bit, and my brothers have been for a bit. But I think the family ethos is really important, and that's really kind of what is what we've tried to carry on is that family ethos of looking after each other and giving a good support network around our teams. And then we opened our first office, very big, exciting moment. Again, that was our second office actually after my bedroom, but first office outside my bedroom. And we called it the bunker. We had no windows and no heating. And amazingly, we got people to work for us. I don't know how we ever managed that, but Jade, who's our current HR director, started in that office and is now on our 4th proper office. They do get better after this. And then we hit 1 million turnover, big moment for us. Then we launched a security business called Zip Security. One of our clients said to us, we have this massive company, Mighty, or OCS, one of the big companies, doing our security. We're really not happy with them. Can you please take it on for us? And I said, look, we don't offer security. I don't know anything about it. I'd have to get a license. It's just not what we do. So they said, okay, call it concierge, and you need to start on Monday because we've told them not to carry on. And that was it. We suddenly started a security business with a week's notice, and then ended up growing that from about 50,000 a year to 500,000 a year over a couple of years, and then COVID came along and wiped out a lot of that. But that's a separate story. So yeah, one of the things I certainly learned was about expanding our service offerings. So it's one of those things, isn't it? Even if you don't actually make much money out of it, you kind of still want to offer it as a service, because it's about being a one-stop shop, providing that convenience and flexibility to customers. And that has been a really important lesson for us. We also offer a lot of other soft services, pest control, recycling waste, and so on. So we're not just a cleaning business, we're really a facilities business, but that evolved from that core service. And then we moved to our new offices in Vauxhall, much nicer office. It's now being converted to a block of flats, but at the time it was a massive upgrade on the bunker. Then continuing on, we won our first contract at this lovely shop called Harrods. Now, what again nobody knew was that at the time we cleaned all the fridges, the big walk-in fridges in the basement. And they were like, I would say, small meeting rooms is how I describe them. And about 30 of them. So they've got these massive fridges underneath the store. Of course, when you say we clean at Harrods, it's not untrue that we didn't clean at Harrods. We did. But everyone assumes, wrongly, that we cleaned the entire store. But that helped us win some of our other amazing customers, like the Royal Household. Yeah, it was a really great brand, obviously, to work with and align yourself with. And then we moved to new offices in Clapham. And then we had a client in Manchester who actually they were a client in London, and they approached us and said, "Oh, would you clean in Manchester?" And I said, "No, don't know anything about Manchester. It's miles away. Not going to do it. We only work in London." They said, "Look, find a subcontractor and sub it out and charge us a management fee, 10% or something." So I lined up 4 meetings in Manchester. Went up there for the day. 2 of them didn't turn up. 2 of them did. One of them was a complete nutter. Very strange person, and then the other one did turn up as well. And of the 2 people who turned up, one of them gave me a quote, and so I had to go with that one. And then we launched the Manchester service, and then ended up actually buying that subcontractor out. He phoned me up one day and said, "Oh, I'm thinking of selling the business. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, maybe." Did a deal, and then suddenly we were in Manchester, second city of the UK. And London, and Manchester was a really great attachment for our business because a lot of our clients were moving up there. It was a time when BBC and all these other companies were moving there, and it gave us a really good point for growth. So that was a really good move for us. And then, yeah, acquiring a business can accelerate your growth. That definitely comes with risks. I'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. Then we went to 5 million turnover, really big moment. Took the team away to celebrate. We were all in, that's actually in, I was going to say Madeira. I always try to get the team to work together towards a kind of annual goal. We want to hit a certain target. And then for that, then we go away. So we've always got to set growth milestones and targets that the team can work around every year, and then there's a reward at the end of it. So that year happened to be Madeira, but yeah, our annual trips are quite legendary. And then we won our Royal Household contract, which I spoke about earlier. Just amazing to be able to win something like that and work with an organisation like the Royal Household. So it is a client that we do milk a lot, and we do talk a lot about that account with people. It's a great reference point. People love the fact that you work with the royalty. I went to America last year and did a talk there, and they were just loving it. And the Americans love the royal families, you know. Yeah, it's great to have a flagship client that you can talk about. And then we won our first award. That was a really big moment. We've won lots of awards in recent years, but to win that first one was a really special moment. I always kind of remember when we first started seeing all these companies. I had these companies who I wanted to be like, and they were winning everything and doing all this amazing stuff. And I thought, oh, one day, maybe be like that. And winning that first award was a special moment to be recognised in the industry. Then 2019 we had our 700th employee join. Then we hit 10 million turnover just before COVID, 2020. 21 we won a Living Wage Champion Award, which is really big deal for us. And then we, in 2022, acquired a business in Wigan, Greater Manchester, called TC Bibby. And that really kind of expanded our footprint in the Northwest and was a great expansion for us because it was already a very big growing area. And it got to the point where we needed a bit more infrastructure and a team up there. So that kind of accelerated our growth. And from there, we've been able to sort of spin off into places like Leeds, Liverpool, and the surrounding areas as well. And then we moved into our new current offices in Vauxhall. Vauxhall is a funny part of London. All the old flats have been turned into the old offices have been turned into flats, and all these new skyscrapers have popped up. So we're in this kind of new skyscraper land, but a big upgrade on where we first started. And then 22-23 we hit 22 million turnover. We kind of grew from about 12 million 1 year coming out of COVID to 22 the next year. So a lot of high growth and quite a big impact on the team and our systems. It did stretch everything to its limits, I would say. 2024, we launched our 25th new city across the UK and also Northern Ireland now. And then 25, we launched our new brand, which is the heart you can see behind me on the wall. So our kind of 3-year plan really going forward is to double in size, so going from 25 to 50 million. And how we're going to do that? Well, hopefully we plan to expand where we are across the UK. So currently we're in 24 cities, looking to kind of expand right across the UK even further and kind of build up really sort of 5 regions. So you've got London, the Midlands, Northwest, Scotland, and then the Southwest. And that's our kind of plans for the next 3 years. And that is it on the slides. So I've gone through that fairly quickly. So I'm just conscious of time. Jane, I'll hand back to you for a second, if that's all right.
Thank you, Dominic. So something that's come into my mind as you've been talking is on Monday we had our first in-person Flex Generation event, and this new initiative is particularly aimed at people aged 35 and under working in the flex industry. And we had 4 panelists who mainly in their 20s, early 30s, had set up flex businesses and were growing them. And there was quite a debate about whether, as somebody leading a business like that, you needed to be kind of on the go 24/7, always on your emails, never stopping, or whether it was important to make a bit of time for yourself and kind of plan that in, and that was important. So it got quite heated on this. So I just wondered what your view on that was as someone leading and growing a business.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think it's very hard for people to get the right balance on that. I would say that, well, I used to be, when I ran the motorized rickshaw business, I actually ran the Cleanology business at the same time for a period, and I was doing something like 100 hours a week, and I was absolutely shattered, working 7 days a week. And by the time I got rid of the rickshaw business, I remember just taking me 6 months to just physically recover from that. So I'm definitely not an advocate of being on your phone 24/7. And actually, as time has gone on, I've got a lot better about kind of being quite strict about my time and trying to make time for yourself. It's much easier said than done. But I think the sooner you can try and carve out time for yourself, whether that's going for a run twice a week or whatever kind of gives you that sort of headspace that you need. It's really, really important, because you can just burn out and then you actually are completely unproductive and you can't grow your business anyway. So I think you need a lot is written about mental health and well-being and so on, and I think you really need that time to be productive. So yeah, I would say not on your phone 24/7 as it used to be, and I'm sure many people were and still are.
It's just too easy, isn't it, now, because our emails just follow us around.
Yeah, they do. And holidays was the big thing, because I always used to work on holidays, and I ended up a couple of years ago, it's only very recently, I've been much better about holidays, and I've said, right, I'll check in once a day in the morning. If there's anything urgent, I'll reply, and then that's it. But there were times before when I used to sit and work for like half a day, and it's a bit like, well, there's no point being away if you're going to carry on doing all your normal stuff. So but yeah, it is hard.
Okay, and a question that's come through: what leadership qualities will be most crucial for the next generation to thrive?
For the next generation, well, the quality that I think you need, whether it's this generation or the next one, is resilience. I think there's so much that's thrown at you these days, whether it's financial pressures, legislation changes, whatever. I think you really need resilience. I do slightly worry, it's going to be controversial to say this, about the next generation and their level of resilience. I think COVID and the whole staying at home thing and lockdown, I think, is going to be a lot more damaging long term than we will realize. And I think resilience is something that we all need, because things generally get harder, not easier, I would say. So I'm sure the next generation, and thinking about my kids who are coming up to that, I'm sure they will get through all of that stuff. But I think it's quite important that we don't forget to be resilient.
Yeah, and an interesting point. My 9-year-old nephew's school has a set of values which they promote in various ways, and one of those is resilience, which seems to come up quite a lot, including on sort of social media posts around what they're doing and things, and as to how they demonstrate resilience. So it's good to see that being kind of taught or encouraged, at least at schools. But it's we needed.
Yeah, that is good, actually. Yeah.
So just to pick up on one other issue that came up at this panel discussion on Monday, was the different approaches people had to hiring staff. Be interesting on what your position on this is, particularly maybe in the earlier days of your businesses. So again, we had some division in the panel. So some people said that they still, as the business grew, they still wanted to have some involvement in every hire, even if it was only meeting them for 5 minutes at the end. Others were arguing that it was important to empower senior staff to make the recruitment, and they didn't have expertise in every area of their business, so they didn't. What's been your approach as you've grown Cleanology?
I think it depends on what size you are. Certainly in the early days, I would have involvement in all the hires and at a sort of head office level, not on every cleaning operative or supervisor that we employed. But as we've got bigger, I've definitely let the team do more of it, and I generally come in at sort of final stage if they want a second opinion or something. The hires that report directly to me, I obviously quite very involved in that process. But I also bring in my team or the rest of the team in on those hires, and actually say, I want to bring this person in as sales director or whatever role it might be. What do you think? And give me your opinion. So I'm quite collaborative in that way, because I think they've got to be part of a senior leadership team, and I think it's important that everyone. Not obviously I have the final decision, but that everyone kind of buys into that and feels it's the right fit for the business. And people do view things from different lenses, so it's good to get a different viewpoints. But I think it's important to empower your team, but maybe you could also just kind of like rubber stamp it at the end is quite a nice way to keep some involvement in it.
Yes, yeah, and I think that was the sort of feeling that the people that were being hired were still fitting the culture of the business that had been started. Seemed to be
exactly.
You have some, but so it's good to see there's a question on AI. It's good. There's always questions on AI now, aren't there? As the pace of change in AI and data accelerates, what's your approach to staying ahead while equipping your teams with the right capabilities to thrive?
The pace of change of AI and data accelerates, what's your approach to staying ahead? I mean, AI is moving at such a pace. It is really hard to to keep up, to even get anywhere, let alone keep up. I think it is an area that we are working on. I would say that as an industry, we are certainly, as a sort of facilities management industry, we're probably quite behind. I think where we should be, and I think there is a lot of potential with AI. We've really started using it, for example, in our finance team. We've actually we had somebody leave, and we actually managed to not replace them by just implementing AI and just automation. And whether it's like scanning receipts and it or inputs it all for you, or automatically kind of chasing debtors, AI has got a place, I think, in every business. I don't think it's going to it's not going to, like robotics. Everyone said I was going to replace all your cleaners and you won't need anyone. I don't think it's going to do that necessarily, not at this stage, but it's definitely got a place for improvement and efficiency, and it's an area that we are working on. It's a work in progress. We've got a lot to do on that area.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge for everyone, isn't it? But it feels like the thought that this is going to be the end of all employment isn't coming through. I think, yes, it's changing the nature of jobs, isn't it? And how people work with AI rather than it replacing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, creates more job satisfaction as well, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And taking away some of those more sort of mundane tasks that can be done efficiently. Okay, I was going to finish on this question, which I now feel you're going to have to give a very positive answer to it, because it could go a different way. Can you remember a moment when you felt like quitting? You have to turn that into a positive, Dominic.
Yes, lots of times.
Why didn't you? That's the positive.
Because I own the business, I can't. It's not as easy as that. I mean, look, we all have good days and bad days. I obviously have, and hopefully, like most people, have a lot more good days than bad days. But you definitely have bad days, and I think you need to put things into perspective and take a longer term, broader view. It's quite easy to quit and just kind of walk away, but I think for me, I'm quite stubborn and quite persistent by nature. So I wouldn't describe myself as a quitter by any means. But there are days when you think, oh, what am I doing here? I could be doing something a lot better than this. But then you look and then you have a good day and you go, actually, do you know what? When you put it into perspective, it's all good. So I think the main thing is to keep perspective and focus on the longer term vision and goal. And everyone's going to have short-term setbacks, like there's no question. You might have a lot of setbacks, and I've had a lot of setbacks. I made a lot of mistakes and still continue to do that, but you have to learn from them and try not to ever make them again.
And is it also about celebrating successes? And you talked about that a bit in your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrating success is a big thing for us, and we do that a lot. We really try and, if something goes well, we really shout about it. And I think that's really important. It's really important to get the team to rally around that, because everyone here has a bad day at some point. And it's important to remind people that actually, do you know what? You probably have one bad day, but maybe 20 really good days. So when you think about it in those terms, think about all the good stuff, because it's no fun thinking about all the bad stuff.
No, and there's plenty of good things, and it's keeping that in perspective when things aren't
getting the right balance.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a really interesting tour through your business and your development of it. And we've got 2 Flex Generation webinars scheduled for next month on public speaking, which is probably something you do a lot of, Dominic, and also networking. So those are on the events pages of the Flex website. So thank you, Dominic, for your time this afternoon, and to everyone for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you.